A team's Super Bowl dreams were dashed when their starting QB went down to injury.
Montana still in need of medical attention.
So with that said, how about we dive into 10 NFL teams that would have totally won a Super Bowl if their QB didn't suffer a devastating injury. 2008 New England Patriots. The Patriots are coming off the most devastating loss in franchise history, a defeat at the hands of Eli Manning's New York Giants in Super Bowl 42. The loss spoiled the Patriots' bid to become the first 19-0 team in NFL history. But Bill Belichick's group was locked and loaded for the 2008 season. They were the overwhelming odds-on favorite to win Super Bowl 43, bringing back the same star-studded core led by Tom Brady, Randy Moss, and Wes Welker. Unfortunately, Brady's bid for redemption ended minutes into the Patriots' Week 1 opener against the Kansas City Chiefs. He tore his ACL on a hit from renowned Patriot killer Bernard Pollard. Just when everyone thought that the Pats were doomed, little-known backup Matt Castle stepped in and led them to an 11-win season. However, in pure cruelty, they missed the playoffs despite a tremendous 11-5 record. Look, just saying, if the Patriots had Brady, surely they would have done better than 11-5. Heck, we bet they would maybe even win the Super Bowl. The Arizona Cardinals in the Super Bowl? Yeah, New England hosted the Redbirds weeks earlier at Gillette Stadium and throttled them 47-7. 1990 San Francisco 49ers. No team in NFL history has won 3 straight Super Bowls. But the Joe Montana and Jerry Rice-led 49ers would have accomplished that feat decades ago if not for one vicious hit on Joe Cool that changed the course of NFL history. Coming off their second straight Super Bowl triumph, the 1990 49ers cruised through the regular season with a 14-2 record. After crushing Washington in the divisional round, they got to play host to the rival Giants in the NFC Championship game at Candlestick Park. With the Giants down to backup QB Jeff Hostetler following Phil Simms' season-ending injury, the 49ers seemingly had an easy path to the Super Bowl. But Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick's defense kept the 49ers offense in check. Montana's squad is clinging to a 13-9 lead in the fourth quarter, seemingly one touchdown away from icing the game. Early in the fourth quarter, Montana was drilled from behind on a brutal hit by Giants defensive end Leonard Marshall. Montana ended up suffering multiple injuries on that play, including a broken hand and some cracked ribs. The 49ers had to turn to backup Steve Young. Late Roger Craig fumble before the 2-minute warning gave the Giants new life, and they stunned the 49ers with a last-second field goal with Matt Barr. And, well, you know the rest. The Giants barely beat the Buffalo Bills in Super Bowl 25 after Scott Norwood's game-winning kick went wide right. Montana missed the entire 1991 season due to injury, and Young emerged as the new starting QB. 2017 Green Bay Packers. Coming off a blowout loss to the Atlanta Falcons in the NFC Championship game, the 2017 Packers eyed revenge as Aaron Rodgers and company ran it back with the same core. Rodgers led the Packers to a hot 4-1 start. However, the good vibes ended quickly. You see, Rodgers suffered a fractured collarbone in a Week 6 road game against the Minnesota Vikings. Backup Brett Hundley just could not save the day, losing 6 of 9 starts. Rodgers returned for one game late in the year against the Carolina Panthers, but was shut down for the rest of the season after his Packers were eliminated from the playoff race. The 2017 NFC Championship game, by the way, featured Nick Foles' Philadelphia Eagles and Case Keenum's Minnesota Vikings. It was Foles who won that game en route to a Super Bowl 52 triumph over the Patriots. Yeah, give us a healthy Rodgers on that star-studded 2017 Packers team over those Vikings and Eagles. 2011 Houston Texans. The Texans were 7-3 with starting QB Matt Schaub before he suffered a season-ending foot injury. Backup Matt Leinart played one game before breaking his collarbone. Houston had to put in third-stringer TJ Yates. And before he took over, the Texans were in the driver's seat for the AFC's number 1 seed. Yates' struggles saw Houston falter to the number 3 seed with a 10-6 record. They ousted the Cincinnati Bengals in the wild-card round before falling 20-13 to the Baltimore Ravens in the divisional round. The AFC was weak that year. If Schaub were healthy, Houston would have probably finished as the top seed. Houston could have easily run through the AFC over Baltimore and a not-super-deep Patriots team. 2020 New Orleans Saints. Drew Brees missed 4 games in the midst of the 2020 season after fracturing his ribs and suffering a collapsed lung. However, Taysom Hill went 3-1 in relief of Brees, and the Saints finished as the NFC's number 2 seed with a 12-4 record. The Saints cruised past the Chicago Bears in the wildcard round, but fell 30-20 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the divisional round. Bucs went on to win the Super Bowl. After the season, Brees revealed that he only felt right for one game that entire year. He had played through a a torn rotator cuff, a torn fascia, and an abdominal injury. And it was pretty clear that he had almost nothing left when he threw 3 picks in that divisional round loss to Tampa. If Breeze were healthy, the Saints would have easily beat Tampa Bay. They crushed them in 2 regular season meetings, and the defense kept Tom Brady in check. He was just fortunate that the Bucs D forced 4 takeaways in that win. 2021 Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens were sitting pretty at 8-3 with 6 games to go. Lamar Jackson was rolling and the AFC was wide open. Maybe this was their time. Sadly, no. Jackson suffered an ankle injury that sidelined him for Baltimore's final 4 games. They finished 8-9 to miss the playoffs. 3 of their final 4 losses were decided by 3 points or less. So in other words, Jackson on his own wins all of those games. And Baltimore goes on to win the AFC North over the 10-win Bengals. Baltimore would have won the AFC too. The top-seeded Tennessee Titans were complete frauds. The Chiefs were not scary that year, and Baltimore beat them in the regular season anyway. Considering the Los Angeles Rams only won 20-19 over Tyler Huntley in Week 17. Give us the 2021 Ravens as your Super Bowl champs if Lamar plays all 17 games. 2014 Arizona Cardinals. Palmer delivered early. He won all 6 of his starts, throwing for 11 touchdowns and only 3 interceptions. Unfortunately, the good vibes ended when he suffered a season-ending ACL tear in a game against the St. Louis Rams. The season wasn't quite over, though. Backup Drew Stanton played well in relief and won 5 of his 8 starts. Then, in a case of classic Arizona Cardinals misfortunes, Stanton suffered a knee injury and had to miss the year. Though Arizona got into the playoffs with an 11-5 record, they stood no chance with third-stringer Ryan Lindley. The Cardinals had to visit the Carolina Panthers in the wildcard round, where they were felled 27-16. 1993 Miami Dolphins. Dan Marino got off to a scorching start in 1993. He had 8 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and a 95.9 passer rating in 5 games, leading Miami to a 4-1 start. But the good vibes ended when Marino suffered a torn Achilles in Week 6 against the Cleveland Browns, abruptly ending his season. Backup Scott Mitchell played well in relief and had Miami on the cusp of a playoff berth, sitting at 9-2 with 5 games to go. Instead, well, the Dolphins endured a historic collapse and dropped their final 5 games in order to miss out on the playoffs.
It didn't actually heal all the way. It was elongated, so I had to deal with not being able to get up on my toe for the rest of my career.
Having beaten eventual AFC champion Buffalo earlier in the year, you can bet that Marino would have bested them in the playoffs. And yeah, they would have beaten the Dallas Cowboys in the Super Bowl. Keep in mind, Miami won at Texas Stadium with Steve DeBerg behind center. 2025 Denver Broncos. Call it recency bias all you want, but do you really think that the Broncos would have lost the AFC Championship game to the Patriots if Bo Nix had started over career backup Jarrett Stidham? Denver's second-year QB led the Broncos to the top seed with a 14-3 record. Though the defense did the heavy lifting here, Nix was virtually untouchable in crunch time with 7 game-winning drives in the regular season and 5 fourth-quarter comebacks. Nix outdueled Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills to win 33-30 in overtime of a thrilling divisional round clash. Shortly after that win, however, Denver learned that its star QB was done for the year after breaking a bone in his ankle. The Broncos had to ride Jarrett Stidham, who had 2 brutal turnovers and a 10-7 loss to the Patriots in the AFC Championship game. Look, Denver wins that game by double digits with a healthy Nix. And with the way that Nix and that defense had been playing, they would have totally bested Sam Darnold and the Seattle Seahawks in Super Bowl 60. 2007 San Diego Chargers. Phillip Rivers tore his ACL in the Chargers' thrilling divisional round win over the Indianapolis Colts. Billy Volek played hero in San Diego's comeback win and looked poised to start in the AFC Championship game against New England. However, in a remarkable act of resilience and courage, Rivers decided to play in the AFC title game with a torn ACL. The Pats were a mammoth 14-point favorite, but Rivers and the Bolts wouldn't go away quietly. Unfortunately, Rivers was clearly limited and basically operating at less than 50%. The Chargers picked off Tom Brady 3 times, but lost 21-12, unable to punch it in during all their red zone trips. Surely, a healthy Rivers, coupled with the Chargers' gutsy performance on D, would have spoiled New England's perfect season right then and there. And, well, we would have bet on Rivers and those star-studded Bolts over Eli Manning's underdog Giants in the Super Bowl. I mean, it's not like Eli had the Chargers number the way that he had New England's after all. But which other NFL teams would have won the Super Bowl if not for an injury to their quarterback? Let us know in the comment section below. If you liked this video and learned a thing or two, then clicking the like button helps us out a ton. And you know, we really appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, then subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.